What's up, Ramblers? It's your favorite CEO, Angelo. Before we start, today's episode is sponsored by OffSource. Actually, the entire podcast is sponsored by OffSource as part of our resource initiative to bring founders and entrepreneurs like you as much support as possible. What is OffSource? Glad you asked. OffSource is a service tech startup based right here in Connecticut, and they are changing the game. Instead of matching founders with a singular virtual assistant, they provide founders with an entire team of virtual assistants that are in-house and cover a wide range of services like admin, bookkeeping, social media management, graphic and web design, and so much more. And the best part is it's fast, flexible, affordable, and all done from your computer, phone, or tablet. Get your team of virtual assistants today by visiting offsource.tech and clicking the Get Started button. See you soon. What's going on, Ramblers? Welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Ramblings. I'm your host, Angelo Roberts, and we have with us another break from hiatus. I am back. I hate always having to be back and do all these re-announcements and everything, but I feel like I've kind of gotten past a particular point. I have a bunch of podcasts in the bank that I'm actually going to be posting for after this. I'm recording this on Monday. I'm going to post it on Monday. I would like to start the week off to be extremely good. Is it still Monday? Yeah, it's still Monday. Still wanted to make sure that was going good. But feeling a little bit out of whack. How are you guys doing today? We have a lot to kind of catch up on. I am back to using my note system, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to do podcasts. I still want to get back into doing things every day. With this week coming, we have enough podcasts already in the bank that you're going to get an episode every single day, and we're really going to start prepping and getting a lot of episodes for next week. I actually just recently got hit up about someone being on a podcast, a financial advisor that I work with. Their colleague reached out to me and they'd like to be on the podcast. So you might see them come on the podcast and everything. I have to talk to the team about that. I'm drinking orange juice and everything. And I've had a very productive day. But we didn't come here to talk about me. We came here to give you guys some valuable information and really just get back into the swing of things because I have missed you guys. It's been absolutely crazy. So I guess one of the things I wanted to kind of start with is maybe you guys can learn from some of the things that I've done. We're in March and March is almost over, which means we are already almost done with the first quarter of 2022, meaning that there's been a lot of ups and downs. The people we probably already know if we're going to hit those goals that we planned. I know that the goals that we had originally planned we're not going to hit, so let's strive better for Q2. We have a lot of things going on the back end for quality made. We're getting a lot more organized. Each artist is going to be dropping a project. We're then also going to be doing a collab project. And I've really renovated the office space. Now, as you guys see, I probably have a similar background, but what you don't see is how I've now reorganized this office space. You guys will probably notice my laptop, my computer, and everything are not over there. I've now just kind of shifted everything into like a single line. So it opens up the back side of us over here and make sure that we have enough room for like the studio to get in for the booth and things of that nature. And I guess the lesson from that is you have to, especially when you're working from home, you want to optimize your space. A lot of like over the past 2 years, a lot of us have been just kind of staring at the screen, staring in one particular space. We may not even have a fully dedicated office space yet. If you're working from home and you plan on working from home, even if you're not, always like take very good care of your personal space because your personal space is what's going to keep you going. And obviously we're going to get into consistency and drive just a little bit later. But that's one of the huge things that I kind of really would like to touch on is how your space is really going to be a key driver for the success within your business, or like not within your business, but let's consider it like the success of your daily habits, right? Your office space allows for you to be yourself, allows for you to get those creative juices flowing, if you're an artist or if you're you draw and things of that nature. It also allows for you to really stay clear and level-headed. So whether you're doing business meetings, whether you're just staring at your screen all day doing editing, writing emails, and whatever it is you're doing, your space will make you feel good, right? And so especially when you're doing your business, be there's going to be some days where you're just like, I don't really feel like doing this. But you're gonna have to push through on those days. We've already previously talked on the podcast. I've talked about a recovery run. If you're not familiar with what a recovery run is, it's essentially where you're still exerting effort, but you're not exerting as much effort as you're recovering, which is why we call it a recovery run, because we're still making progress because we're running, but it's not as the energy being exerted is not as much as before, and so our body is able to recover. I got that from playing soccer. There's only 3 substitutions in soccer, meaning that 8 people on the field are going to be on the field for the entire 90, 100, 110, 120 minutes of the game, So in life, some people are going to get breaks, some people are not. And for those people that don't get breaks, they're going to have to learn how to do a recovery run, meaning that you can't stop and stand still. Life is going to keep moving. That's the hardest part. Just like in soccer, there's no timeouts. The game is going to keep moving. They just add more time at the end. They're not really going to stop the time. I mean, obviously towards the end when there's a dead ball, they're going to stop it. But for the majority of the time, they're not going to stop the play. They're just going to add some time towards the end, which is kind of like life, right? You don't get any stops, and you kind of, may or may not get, lucky enough to have a little bit extra time towards the end of that, or you might be lucky enough to have a job where you have a little bit more time towards the end of your day, whatever it is, right? You want to focus on creating mechanisms to keep you going, whether that's looking at your previous wins, making sure that you have a very good creative and organized space and office, or just making work more fun. I know that I've mentioned to a lot of you guys, I went and I got me an Oculus because I like to work in it now, and it just makes work so much more fun. It's kind of like I'm working in like the Iron Man, but having control over your creative space, over your office, is like a super major game changer. And I didn't really realize how much not having the office the way I would want it would affect me. And something as simple as moving the table from over there to over there has really opened up my creativity, allowed me to feel like, okay, I'm back on top of my game. I can keep doing this. And so you want to find your reason, and it can't just always be something internal. Sometimes we need that external, which comes from internal, because we set it up, we thought about it, we took the time to implement this process or hack or whatever it is that you're implementing. We took that time out of our brain, and so it's coming internally. The issue is it has to be formulated or executed on an external basis. And so that's just one of the personal things I've learned in Q1 of 2022. There's been a couple of other things, but that's probably one of the biggest things. I'm not going to get into consistency. You guys have heard me hammer consistency, right? It's not about doing something every day. It's about doing something over a long period of time, the longevity of something in routine. And I don't know if that's the real depth, the actual depth. Like, let's do that real quick, because I love doing live research and everything like that. It adds a little bit of flair to the podcast and whatnot. So let's just look at the actual definition of consistency. So the actual definition of consistency says conformity in the application of something, typically that which is necessary for the sake of logic, accuracy, and fairness. That is a very hard to understand definition for some people, I would assume. So I would like to just break that down. We are going to apply a particular process of something that is going to be done over a certain amount of time, obviously, because we'd like for things to be sensed logically. Let's see if they have another definition on file that might be better. Nope, they don't have another definition on file that might be better. Ooh, here we go. I like this definition right here. A degree of, again, not what we're looking for. So I don't like any of the is that allowed to do? Like, are we allowed to say we don't like the definition of something when we know what that definition is? Like, we know what consistency is when we're trying to be consistent, right? Like, hey, you got to do something like every day, once a week. You're consistently doing something. But the definitions that it's actually giving, slightly different path. I want to know, can we be able to say we don't like the definition of something? I don't know how that would be applied. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds absolutely. Anyway. So along the lines of consistency, this is something else that I've learned in Q1 of 2022. I used to not necessarily think this was true. However, I have greatly changed my mind recently. And this is something it's a book actually. And I didn't read the book, but I love the title and I know what the book stands for because I watch a lot of his content. But Grant Cardone has a book called Be Obsessed or Be Average. And I was thinking, you can be balanced, right? You can have a balanced lifestyle and not be obsessed and still not be average and be above average. And then I really got to thinking about what it takes to achieve a goal, what it takes to be like the best in something. Now, if your goal of is to be obsessed with being balanced, then that's what you're going to get, right? But if your goal is to grow a multi-million-dollar company, you have to look at what that takes. You have to look at the energy that has to be exerted in order for that to be achieved. And so the issue with a lot of people is they're not willing to put in that effort, that level of effort that needs to be achieved in order to realistically hit those goals. So one of the things I had to sit back and take a look at it as, what are my actions? Are my actions showing that I am obsessed? Because if I'm not obsessed, I'm just going to be average, because business or just being successful in general is going to take time. And then you have to look, what are you already dividing your time with? You might not like your job and you might be trying to do a different job. So if you're not already in a job that you like, and one of your goals with being successful is to be at a job that you enjoy and you like, that is going to take effort. You're already out 6 to 8 hours of your day with that job that you don't like. And so you can't even count that as towards being like making those moves, because that's what you have to do to keep bread on the table. So it's about what you're doing in the time that you're not actually working or sleeping. What are you doing with those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of free time that you get every single day? Because if we were to break it down, and obviously this would apply to someone with no kids, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play. Now, obviously, let's just say you are on the border of things. So you might be doing 10 hours of work, 8 hours of play, and 8 hours of sleep, 10 hours of work, 6 hours of enjoyment, self-enjoyment time per day, right? And you're only working, let's just call it 5 days a week. So that's 30 hours in a 5 day week period that you have available to expend or allocate to different things. And so depending on what your goals are, if you're not exerting a certain amount of energy, it's not that you will not hit that goal. It's that the time it would take to hit that goal is going to outlast you. So for example, if all you had was to save $1, right? It would take you 1 year to save $365 if you saved $1 a day. And that's if you wanted to say be balanced. Let's say you could save $3 a day. That means you're going to get to your goal of 365 3 times as fast, right? So in terms of achieving your goal, you have to look at what is the max amount of expendable energy that is going to be needed for me to hit what I want to get, which is why you have to be obsessed. Because if you're not obsessed, it's not going to pan out. You're going to be average. And I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think it was a podcast. I want to say, anyway, it was an interview. That's the best way. It was an interview with Mr. Beast. And I am by no means a Mr. Beast fan. I don't watch the show. I'm not following him on YouTube, or I'm not subscribed or anything, but I was just interested in this video because I like to see the background of things, right? Just because you don't like something or someone doesn't mean you can't learn from it. Doesn't mean you can't see, well, is there something here that I can mimic? And one of the things that I brought out, and obviously, I've heard other people that I even listened to mention this before, and it just didn't really click with me until I heard someone I didn't even really say it. And so he said, you have to be obsessed with what you're doing. He was doing and found what he loved at 13, which was making YouTube videos, right? I think it was even 11, right? you're making YouTube videos. And if it takes 10 years to get to a mastery of something, he spent from 13 to 23. And so most people find it in their 20s, which means that they're going to be successful in their early 30s, which is normally how that path works. But you have to find what it is that you're willing to do and then do that and then be obsessed with it, right? If you didn't have, if you had too many nights out, if you had too many days sleeping in, how much energy is actually being exerted to your projects or what you're looking to get? And then during those exertations, how much effort are you really putting in? Are you putting your all in? That's why, like, think of Adidas's thing. When you have to think about the all in, literally all of your chips are on the table. That means if you're going all in, all of your energy needs to be directed towards that particular goal. If you're not obsessed, you're going to be average. Let's bring it to like sales, right? Obviously, we want to be in business for doing the things that we love, but there are going to be things in business, in anything that we do that we don't like. And that's going to include a job that we love. We're never going to 100% love it. You may 100% love it, and then a colleague comes in and messes up your entire mojo. Now it's like, ooh, I love my job except for this one coworker, right? So what happens is you have to become obsessed, because you're going to have to do things that you're not going to want to do. And the only way that you're going to really put a true footing forward for accomplishing something that you don't really want to do is to be obsessed. You're going to be average. If you're not willing to dedicate all of your free time, then maybe it's not for you. Because in business, that's something that you have to do in order to win, in order to succeed. I always bring it back to athletes because we have to look at like work ethic. And I think work ethic is transferable throughout, all walks. It doesn't have to just be business or sports. We could relate it to entertainment. We could look at Tyler Perry and how he stuck to his guns and was obsessed with what he did. He was obsessed with telling the Black story to the Black people using the Black characters. He was obsessed with that. And look where that got him. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, obsessed with what they're doing. If you are in the sports world, right, you know that recruiting doesn't happen at the college level in this day and age. Kids are now recruited, or at least kind of being recruited to a degree at middle school levels. And let's not even talk about soccer, where they have, the under 18 leagues for like Barcelona, for Chelsea, for Real Madrid. These under 18 professional leagues where they already are grooming these young kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to play in the big leagues, because they're like, yo, I want to go pro. And so if you're in sports and you've been in sports since a kid, you know that when you're in high school, these group of kids are the ones who are getting scouted. The ones that are going to like the Jordan leagues, the Jordan games, the McDonald's, the Sprites games, right? These kids that are in these AAU leagues that are all over, that are seen on Ball is Life. Obviously, there's other ways to get on and get, say, for example, you just go to a good school and play well in college. There's another way to get recruited. But pretty much, this is the group, right? And then look at what those kids have to do, right? They don't have a job, and so it's school. Most of the time, you're not going to like school. So you're spending 6, 7, 8 hours a day already doing something that you don't like, school. Now you have homework, which is work after school. And then you have maybe some extracurricular activities. You have to still get sleep, but then you're playing basketball, and basketball practice is what? An hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, depending on your level. And so some of these kids are doing the weight room and then go into practice. So think about the amount of time and what your day looks like when you are truly obsessed and dedicated to something. If you're spending your entire day watching Netflix, if you're spending your whole day playing video games, if you're spending your whole day scrolling through Facebook, through Twitter, mindlessly just filling an entertainment void, you will not reach the goals that you are trying to do, because you're not putting in the effort that needs to be put in. And that is just a fact. outside of being born into wealth, outside of being born into wealth, we have never seen a successful person say, if this was easy. They never said, oh, it just kind of happened. If you hit the lottery, yeah. But you're not going to see LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Larry Bird. You're not going to see Denzel Washington. You're not going to see Michael B. Jordan. You're not going to see anyone saying that I took the easy route and that this did not take work and it did not take sacrifice, because a sacrifice is not a sacrifice unless it's an actual sacrifice, meaning it's going to hurt. If it doesn't hurt, it's not a sacrifice. Let's put it like that. If it doesn't hurt, it's not a sacrifice. And that's my talks on that, something I wanted to get. I just had to get that off my chest. Anyway, so jumping in, wanted to talk to you guys real quick about how you can get clients right now. Some of you guys might need some clients, and I'm going to tell you how you can go get clients right now. Now, a lot of times you're probably listening to other people. I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee. Content, post. Yes, I agree. Yes, I absolutely agree. The issue happens to be is what happens when we need to go into sales mode. A lot of you guys are not going to be good, especially in your first, let's call it 10 posts. Let's call it 100 posts, right? So for your first 100 posts, if you're posting 3 times a day, 5 days a week, right? Let's just call it, and then you're taking Saturdays and Sundays to actually just create the content. So let's do some quick maths, hot man maths, right? So at 3 posts a day, 5 days a week, that's 15 posts. Let's divide 100 by 15. And that gives you roughly 6.5 weeks, 6.66, repeating till you get to 7, which I still think was just a rounding. But basically 6.5 weeks. If you are posting 3 times a day, 5 days a week, for 6.5 weeks, nothing will probably happen. 6.5 weeks is not long enough. It's not consistent enough for anything to happen. Now, something could happen in those 6.5 weeks, but let's talk about right now. You want to go get clients tomorrow that is going to pay off. And so how can you do that? For 6.5 weeks is what? There's 4 weeks in a month, 6. So in a month and a half, give it 30 days of 2 to 3 networking meetings per day. So that's 2 to 3 hours per day, right? So probably even less time than the actual like weekly posting. So like between the time it takes you to come up with content, the time it actually takes for you to record, post, get it edited, all that kind of stuff, you're looking at a lot of hours, right? But that's just to get 2-3 posts a day. And so in networking meetings, if you're doing 2 networking meetings a day and 1 follow-up, so that's 3 hours. Let's call it like a very similar trade-off, if you will. You're more likely to get like a client because now you're speaking directly to your people. And there's a caveat for this, obviously, depending on the networking group you join, depends on the people in the networking group. Your ideal client has to be in the networking group. And so this will primarily apply for B2B services. So like landscapers, attorneys, lawyers, digital design agencies, website agencies, people that build apps, things like that. Basically the freelance service community, you're going to want to go check out networking because you're being directly inputted into the faces of these people. You are telling, 30 people, like, for example, I'm gonna give you a real life example. This morning, I was in a networking meeting and I told 16 people exactly what I do. Now, I'm in this networking meeting and those people already know what I do, but I'm making sure I stay top of mind. The one I'm in cost, so I'm not going to shout that one out. We like to be cost effective. However, actually, yeah, because I'm part of it. Master Networks is amazing. Obviously, it does cost, but if you're looking for something free, Happy Neighborhood Project is the way to go. Yeah, so that's what I would do right now if I was trying to get clients, which is what I am doing right now to try to get clients. We are networking. As you guys know, this is just a journey story. I am not some big shot yet, but we are almost there. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Okay, Ramblers, that's it. Podcast over. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, and do me a favor, share this with someone who can also benefit from hearing today's episode. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on all platforms at Angela Roberts Jr. All right, until next time.